Most people completely misunderstand what it really takes to start a company in China. And that misunderstanding has cost thousands of entrepreneurs time, money, and sometimes their entire business plan. If you're thinking about registering an LLC in China, there's something extremely important you need to know first. Because the process is not just different from what you're used to. It operates on an entirely different system. And the surprising truth is this: China can be one of the most powerful markets in the world for your business, but only if you approach it the right way. Let me show you exactly what that means. Michael had been running a successful e-commerce brand in the United States for years. His products were already being shipped to customers around the world, but he kept noticing something. A growing number of orders were coming from China. At first, he ignored it. But then he dug deeper. Massive demand. A rapidly expanding middle class. One of the largest consumer markets on the planet. So he made a decision. He would take his business into China and set up a local company. It sounded like a smart move. But here's where things get interesting. The moment Michael started researching how to register an LLC in China, he realized something felt off. There was no clear LLC option like in the United States. Instead, he kept seeing something called a WFO, a wholly foreign-owned enterprise. And that's where his confusion began. But here's the problem. China does not use the same business structures you might be familiar with. What most people refer to as an LLC in China is usually a WFOA. And this small detail makes a huge difference. Because a WFO is not just a company, it's a specific legal structure designed for foreign investors. Let's break this down in a way that actually makes sense. A WFO allows a foreign individual or company to fully own a business in China without needing a local Chinese partner. That sounds ideal, right? But there's one detail most people miss. Setting up a WFO involves strict regulatory oversight, detailed documentation, and a process that must be followed precisely. If you make mistakes early, it can delay your business for months. Now, let's bring in another example. Sarah, a digital consultant from California, wanted to expand her services into China. She believed setting up a company would help her attract higher-value clients. So she started the process confidently. But very quickly, she hit her first major obstacle. Business scope. In China, when you register your company, you must clearly define what your business will do. This is called your business scope. But here's where it gets tricky. You are legally restricted to operating only within that defined scope. If you later want to expand your services, you may need to go through an approval process again. And what happens next can catch people off guard. Sarah initially registered her company for consulting services. Later, she wanted to add online training programs. Seems like a natural extension, right? But her business scope didn't cover it. She had to go back, apply for modifications, and wait for approval, delaying her plans by weeks. This is where it gets dangerous. Because if you operate outside your approved scope, you can face fines or even suspension. So defining your business scope correctly from the beginning is critical. Now let's move to the next step. Before you can even register your company, you need to choose a company name. Sounds simple. But in China, it's not. Company names must follow a strict format and be approved by authorities. And here's where things get interesting again. Your name typically includes the region, the brand name, the industry, and the company type. For example, something like Shanghai Bright Tech Consulting Company, Limited. But here's the problem. Many names are already taken, or too similar, to existing businesses. David, a startup founder, went through 5 different name submissions before getting approval. Each rejection added delays. And this is where most people lose momentum. There's a smarter way to handle this. You prepare multiple name options in advance and ensure they align with your business scope. Now, once your name is approved, the next major step is preparing your documentation. And this is where the process becomes very detail-oriented. You'll need to provide identification documents, proof of address, shareholder information, and a detailed business plan. But there's one detail most people miss. All foreign documents must be notarized and often legalized. This means they must go through official verification processes in your home country before being accepted in China. Daniel, an entrepreneur from Texas, underestimated this step. He submitted his documents without proper legalization. The result? Immediate rejection. And what happens next changed everything. He had to restart the documentation process, losing nearly a month. So this is not something you want to overlook. Now let's talk about registered capital. This is one of the most misunderstood parts of starting a company in China. In the past, China required high minimum capital investments. Today, the system is more flexible. But here's where it gets confusing. Even though there may not be a strict minimum, you are still expected to declare a realistic amount of capital based on your business activity. And this small detail makes a huge difference, because your registered capital represents your financial commitment to the company. If it's too low, authorities may question your ability to operate. If it's too high, you are legally responsible for contributing that amount over time. Emily, a business consultant, once worked with a client who declared a very high capital amount to look impressive. But later, they struggled to meet those financial commitments. This created legal and financial pressure. So the key insight here is balance. Declare what you realistically need to operate. Now, once your documents and capital are in order, you move to the official registration stage. This involves submitting your application to the local administration for market regulation. If approved, your company receives a business license. And this is a big moment, because this is when your company officially exists. But here's where things get interesting. Getting the license is not the end of the process. It's actually just the beginning. Now you need to complete several post-registration steps. You need to carve official company seals, known as chops. In China, these chops are extremely important. They are used to sign documents, authorize transactions, and validate contracts. And this is where it gets dangerous. Control over these chops equals control over the company. Jessica, a foreign investor, once gave operational control to a local manager without properly securing the company chops. The result? She lost control over key decisions. So you must handle this carefully. Now let's move forward. After obtaining your chops, you need to open a corporate bank account. And just like in Brazil, this step can be more complex than expected. Chinese banks have strict compliance procedures. They may require in-person verification, detailed documentation, and proof of business activity. Michael experienced this firsthand. He assumed his business license would be enough. But the bank requested additional documentation about his operations and financial plans. This caused unexpected delays. So, preparation is key. Now, once your bank account is set up, you need to register for taxes. And this is where things become ongoing. China has a structured tax system that includes value-added tax, corporate income tax, and other obligations depending on your business. But here's the insight that changes everything. Compliance in China is not optional. It's continuous. You need to file taxes regularly, maintain accurate records, and follow reporting requirements. David learned this the hard way. He focused so much on setting up his company that he neglected ongoing compliance. The result? Penalties and administrative issues. So the smartest approach is to work with a local accountant or service provider. Now let's take a step back. At this point, you might be wondering, is all of this worth it? And the answer is, it depends on how you approach it. Because here's the reality. China is one of the most competitive and opportunity-rich markets in the world. If you set up your company correctly, you gain access to local customers, suppliers, and business networks. You can operate more efficiently, build trust, and scale faster. But, if you rush the process or ignore the details, you risk delays, compliance issues, and lost opportunities. So let's bring everything together in a way that makes sense. To register an LLC in China, you need to understand that you're likely setting up a WFO. You need to define your business scope carefully. You need to choose and approve your company name. You need properly notarized and legalized documents. You need to declare realistic registered capital. You need to obtain your business license, create company chops, open a bank account, and register for taxes. And most importantly, you need to stay compliant over time. It may sound complex, But here's the shift in perspective that successful entrepreneurs make. They stop seeing this as a barrier and start seeing it as a filter. Because most people never get through this process. They give up when it becomes complicated. But those who understand it and execute it properly position themselves ahead of the competition. And now, you're starting to think like them. You're no longer guessing. You're understanding. You're planning. And that's what gives you an edge. So if you're serious about entering China, take your time, do it properly, and build a strong foundation. Because once everything is set up correctly, the opportunities can be massive. And if you found this guide helpful and want more videos that break down complex global opportunities like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Because the more you understand how these systems really work, the more powerful your decisions become.